Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Who dat? Derek Carr retired over the weekend, the same day that the Saints had rookie minicamp afterwards. Kellen Moore acknowledged that he wasn't very much involved in the whole Derek Carr conversation.
He's kind of communicated mostly with Mickey and those guys as we've gone through this process. And, obviously the last few days, they had those communications and those conversations and made this ultimate decision that felt best for them.
As a matter of fact, Kellen Moore even acknowledged that he and Derek Carr never met in person. Seems bizarre to me. Let's ask a guy that played a decade in the NFL. Scott Shanle, good enough to join us here for a couple minutes. Scott, always our pleasure. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good.
When you hear that Derek Carr and Kellen Moore, in the nearly 3 months since he was hired as head coach, never met face-to-face, does that strike you as a veteran player as odd?
Extremely odd. It's extremely odd for many positions, let alone the starting quarterback. When I heard that, I kind of looked at that like the new head coach really doesn't want that guy to be his quarterback, is the way I took it.
Can you elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, if you take a job as a head coach, well, as an offensive guy, the number one position everyone's concerned about is the quarterback position. So before he got hired, I'm sure they talked to the organization about what direction they're going at quarterback. Are they going to force him to coach Derek Carr? Does he have an option to draft somebody, to look for somebody in free agency, to trade for somebody? So the fact that he took a head coaching job and never met with the guy who was under contract, the guy who was going to be the starting quarterback, is extremely weird.
How do veterans normally handle how do veterans that don't live in the market normally handle their off season, like when they're in the building, when they aren't?
Yeah, I would say it differs based on where guys are. And a lot of times kids dictate that,
Sure.
When you get married, you don't have kids, the off season is the off season. It's vacation central. It's go do whatever you want. A lot of times, though, when you get older and you're in your late 20s, 30s, you have kids and they're in school, I think that ties a lot of guys down to staying in the area. But the fact that Derek kind of bolted, and, we talked about this last time, I was doing YouTube car reviews, and obviously made it be known that he wasn't in New Orleans. And at the time, people made a big deal about it, but I didn't think much of it. The fact that he wasn't there when the city was hosting the Super Bowl as a representative for the city and the organization, that all now, when you look back at it, that was odd.
Scott Shanle is our guest. It's this whole thing, piecing it together, is a bit odd. I don't want to get too bogged down in what happened and more look at what is ahead. But as we do sort of unpack it, the way we sort of understand it here, Scott, is that Derek Carr realized in March he had a shoulder issue. Early April is when it was reported. Now here, early May, he's retiring. Like, does that timeline make sense, or do you think maybe they're not being fully, maybe Carr and or the Saints are not disclosing fully what they knew and when they knew it? And obviously, we're being speculative here.
Yeah, of course. First of all, to me, I don't know many players that are not going to get a surgery for $30 million. So the fact he didn't go have shoulder surgery to get $30 million guaranteed tells me the team said, listen, we're going to fight for that $10 million we gave you unless you just get out of here. And I think that's the reason why he didn't get shoulder surgery and sit on IR for a year. But even going a step further, why did the guy even get $10 million? I mean, why was the physical not done in early March? You had every opportunity to get out of this contract. It's weird to me that you paid a guy $10 million and then found out a month later that he didn't have a very good shoulder, and you had to move forward in a different direction. It seems fitting. This is how the Derek Carr era ended.
Do you have any summation there, Scott, to connect the dots of why or how the whole what you're saying there about it's odd that they would pay him $10 million and that he didn't have the physical? Like, do you have any idea of what you think might have happened there?
Yeah, I think the team probably anticipated. They really thought Derek was going to be their starting quarterback this year. He was going to be the Aaron Rodgers to the Jordan Love Green Bay situation where he was going to be here for a year, probably start. At some point, if the season wasn't going the way you want it to, now the young guy plays, and he was going to be the bridge quarterback And once the shoulder injury was related to the team, and it was evident he was not going to be able to be your starting quarterback, I think that's when everything kind of unraveled.
Scott Shanle is our guest. Now that you've got the 2-year Derek Carr era in totality, you want to give the overview? What's your thoughts on this sort of brief window of New Orleans Saints football?
Yeah, I think a lot of times you have young players, it's an exciting time because of the unknown. Now, I also remember a few years where in 2012, 13, 14 era, I remember watching people say it's time to move on from Sean Payton and Drew Brees. So you kind of have to look at this, and it's exciting because there's young, unknown players, but you're also could be looking at a rough 2 years. Yeah. And are you in the Arch Manning sweepstakes? Hopefully Arch doesn't come out after 1 year. Maybe you're sitting there in 2 years, and that would be the story of all stories. But I think when you look at it, Shuck is going to have the advantage. He's Kellen Moore's guy. He was drafted. In my opinion, I think Spencer Rattler is probably going to be the week 1 starter. Those reps he got last year were invaluable. He played with a lot of backup receivers. He did some good things. He turned the ball over too much for my liking. And even in college, he didn't throw the ball well enough from the pocket. But I think those reps that Spencer got last year, as a 5th-round pick, a lot of times you sit on a roster for 2 years, and then you're out of the league. 2 or 3 years, and you're out of the league. He got valuable reps and give him an opportunity to be the starting quarterback. If it were me, I would probably cut Haener and get a veteran quarterback in that room. I think it's really risky to go into an NFL season with that much youth at that position.
Is there a veteran available that you'd prefer?
Well, I don't know if a lot of veterans are looking to come in and be that bridge quarterback as far as, everybody looks at Aaron Rodgers, and Aaron Rodgers recently said, hey, I'll play for $10 million. If that's what he's willing to do, and he wants to do that in New Orleans, then I think you sign a guy like that. Because people love to hate Aaron Rodgers, but I also know enough to know that Aaron Rodgers, what he went through with Brett Favre, if you listen to Jordan Love said Aaron Rodgers was a great teacher, a great mentor to him. And Aaron Rodgers has always said, I didn't want to be what Brett was to me. So maybe he can be a valuable piece because he has enough in the tank where he can probably make some plays if you need a veteran quarterback to come in and play early in the season.
That's a great point. He's on Twitter at Scott Shanle. I'll give him a follow. Former Saint linebacker Scott Shanle hanging out with us. I'd love to ask you, Scott, from the perspective of a veteran player on this team, it certainly seems like the Saints are now being forced into a rebuild, which they've tried to avoid kicking and screaming now for half a decade. But they're being forced into it. If you are Cam or DeMario or Kamara or any of these veteran players, how do you approach a season when it's very clear, like the team, like you're facing what is going to be a really rough season?
Yeah, and that's the first thing I thought the other day as well. I don't know how much trade value those guys have. DeMario, every time you think he's aging, he goes and has a 14-tackle game, and he's been outstanding. But the season gets long the older you get. Cam, obviously, the all-time sack leader. They tried to have him be a D tackle last year, and he once they started playing him, Dennis got fired. They started playing him a little bit more, and he made some plays late in the season. And then Alvin, I think the one argument you can make about the organization, and you said it, they've been in this winning mode. I think the thing you can say about the organization is they almost held on to guys too long, and that was something they never did with Sean. If you were an aging player, you had to prove week in and week out that you could play. Otherwise, they were moving on from you. I mean, it's crazy. I love Alvin. Alvin's best running back in Saints history. You make the argument, but it's crazy that last year they could have signed Saquon Barkley to the same amount of money that Alvin Kamara had, and there's just moves that the organization didn't make that probably could have made them younger and better at a lot of positions while they were waiting to win.
Well, they're in this situation now. I don't know if you do have any takeaway, Scott, but they did have rookie minicamp this weekend. They signed receiver Donovan Peoples-Jones on Monday. Not sure if you saw that. Like, is there anything? And the answer could be no, but was there anything from rookie camp this past weekend that you saw trickle out that caught your attention for one reason or another?
Yeah, I mean, I saw some clips of what they were going inside, going through drills and things like that. And watching young linebacker like Danny Stutzman, and I put myself back in that position. Like as a rookie, you have no idea the business you're about to get into. It's lucrative. It's awesome when you're winning. It's fun. You win championships and you make friendships for a lifetime. But it is a high pressure business. And so I'm sitting there watching those young guys like just getting started. It took me back to that mold. But just there's an energy level. And there's an excitement. There's a lot, like I said before, there's a lot of newness with the quarterback position. There's newness with the coaching staff. And I think that interjects some life into the building. Now, it needs to translate to wins because it's the business of winning. We all know that. But there seems to be an energy in the building that didn't seem to be there last year.
He is Scott Shanle, Super Bowl champion, former Saint linebacker. Good to spend a couple minutes with us. Always appreciate your time, Scott. Thank you. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.